Am I live? Shall I get going? Okay. Right. So I've got this new camera. I must remember to look at it. Otherwise, you're going to think I'm not looking you in the eye. I'm going to be speaking to you about the immune system tonight and how to have a healthy immune system so that you can avoid any flu, all flu, any viruses, any bacteria, COVID-19, COVID 20, 21, 22, 23. It's true as not, they're going to be more COVIDs, okay? Because they're going to come out with a vaccine and everybody's going to rush and get it because we're so tired of wearing masks and being in lockdown. And then whenever all that's settled down in a couple of years, we'll have COVID-21 or it'll have some other name. We've had these things before. They used to call it Hong Kong flu. Then it was Beijing flu. Then it was Asian flu. We've even had some bird flu thrown in there somewhere. Sooner or later, something will come along that you haven't been vaccinated for. There's huge money, and I'm not kidding. You can look it up. When I started studying natural health over 30 years ago, I remember that in South Africa alone, in those days, 200 million rand a year was spent by the government from taxpayers' money just to give free vaccinations to poorer communities. And our pharmaceutical companies are at the top of all the stock exchanges in just about every country where there is a stock exchange. There's a lot of money in it. And the things that I'm going to share with you tonight are really about taking control of your health and understanding your body more so that you can work with it as opposed to work against it. What we so often do is we look for cures. I've just been doing some research on a new course that I'm busy working on. It's a personally coached group where I work very closely with a small group of people because there are some people who do very well on the 30-day detox and the 100 days. And I've been working with people on personally coached groups in the 100 days, but I've developed a program that is a better program for that. But part of the research that I was doing, because it's all about helping people understand that there actually aren't any cures out there. And it's kind of a scary feeling when you hear that at first. You think, oh, is this some conspiracy theory? No, it's not at all. This is common sense, okay? This is science-based. Your body is designed to repair itself. It can repair itself if you let it. If you don't let it repair itself because you don't provide the right food, the right environment, you don't get fresh air, sunlight, or natural light, you don't get enough sleep, you don't deal with emotional and spiritual issues, and your body's just completely out of balance all the time, then you're just going to get sicker and sicker. And what medication does, it doesn't cure anything. There's not a drug that cures anything. There just are no drugs that cure things. What they do is they deal with the symptoms. So if you have a headache, it takes the pain away from the headache, but it has side effects, okay? So the side effects of taking headache tablets, just mild ones on a regular basis, could possibly be a bleeding ulcer in the stomach, for example. One of the common side effects of taking headache tablets is more headaches. One of the side effects of taking antidepressants is more depression and suicidal ideation, ideas of suicide. One of the common side effects of taking anti-anxiety medication is anxiety and panic attacks. I'm not kidding. If you don't believe me, go home and read the insert, or after we've had a look here, look at the insert in the medication that you've been using or in the medication you may have used in the past. Look up the side effects. You can just look up side effects of benzodiazepines, antidepressants, or put up the actual name in there. A medical site will usually come up. The one that makes the product will come up as well. When they make the product, they put the side effects on about page 4, like as far away as possible, so it's hard to find them. But when you read the side effects of medication, you will understand that there are no cures. You're treating symptoms. Now, in doing some of the research for this course, I was reminded of people who've gone out and looking for cures, medical people who found not cures, but procedures. And we see it as cures, but the doctors know they're not cures. They know that it's a procedure that will help you. And one of the people that came to mind is a famous South African doctor who performed the first heart transplant. And South Africans that are on the group tonight will know that it's Dr. Chris Barnard that did that. And in researching his background, I remember when he died some years back, he was in his 70s and he died of asthma. And I thought that's a strange thing to die from, because asthma is completely curable on a healthy diet. It is completely curable. You can just change your diet. One of the things you take out is dairy, another is preservatives. There are other tweaks and things. You've got to get essential fatty acids into the diet. But at the end of the day, the interesting thing about him was that when he operated and performed that first heart transplant, he'd actually been suffering from arthritis in his hands for several years. And he wasn't able to cure his arthritis problem. He actually ended up not being able to perform any surgery and only instructing. So he would stand with surgeons in the operating room and instruct them. But he could no longer use his hands to perform surgery, which is very sad. Now, arthritis is a very curable condition, and it's something that can be sorted out with your diet and lifestyle. And I've seen several people that have done our programs say my pains and all my joints are gone. I'm not on my arthritic medication anymore. My body is working properly. So I'm getting back to it. Your body is capable of repairing itself, but it's not only capable of repairing itself, it's capable of defending itself from any virus, any bacteria, but only when your immune system is working the way it was designed to work. So we're going to go through the immune system. I'm going to be talking about the immune system, how it works. We're going to look at the different parts of the immune system. You'll notice that the tonsils are part of the immune system. Somebody's mic is not muted. If you don't mind just switching it off, we can hear you moving around. So where was I before I so rudely interrupted myself? So we're going to look at the immune system. We're going to look at all the different parts of the immune system, and then we're going to look at how diet actually affects the immune system and what you can do to make sure your immune system is working properly. There is nothing more powerful than your immune system to protect you. Way more powerful than any mask, than any treatment or drug or procedure. I mean, I had just been reading an article in a magazine. It's all about hooked up for dear life and what happens when you go on to, and the article is written by a doctor who's actually promoting, ventilator use in the hospitals. He's actually writing about how, oops, wrong one, there we go. He's actually promoting the use of ventilators in hospitals, but he does mention the possible side effects of using a ventilator if you are diagnosed with COVID-19 and your lungs aren't working as well as they should. He describes it, and this is a treatment that's considered to help you recover. But in fact, we now know, because there have been several reports, that people that are put onto ventilators are more likely to die. And then if I read this, you'll understand why. It's called intubation. So intubation is a delicate procedure. The intubation process is a delicate one, and things can go wrong. That's connecting you to the ventilator. Lalu and Abdul Galur say, including, these are some of the things: not getting the endotracheal tube in the right position. The tube can be misplaced in the esophagus, which is your food pipe, and instead of the trachea, the windpipe, leading to the brain becoming starved of oxygen and resulting in brain damage. Wonderful treatment, that. And wait, there's more. Just wait, there's more. Damage to the vocal cords and injury to the throat or the trachea. Long-term damage can cause severe difficulty in swallowing. Bleeding, damage to dental work or injury to teeth. Overinflation of the lungs, causing damage to lung tissue that can lead to lung collapse and death. Damage to the lungs from high pressure or volumes of air. Severe muscle weakness or atrophying from prolonged ventilation and muscular paralysis. Infection in the upper airwaves or pneumonia, inflammation of the lungs acquired from the ventilator. Ulcer formation around the area of the tube. This can cause scarring and problems with breathing once the tube is removed. Now, what they have to do to you before you actually can be intubated is actually paralyze you. So they actually... they don't want you struggling. That before intubation, the patient would have been struggling to breathe. The respiratory muscles would be working overtime and not coping. So they need sedatives to allow the body to relax and let the ventilator do its job. It can be uncomfortable for the patient if they try to breathe against the action of the ventilator. They actually paralyze. The word paralyze is used there as well. And that's considered to help you if you've got COVID-19. That doesn't make any sense. And people have actually found, doctors are finding that it's actually better to just put the good old-fashioned oxygen mask over your nose and mouth if you're struggling to breathe. But here they're actually pushing this tube down into your trachea to help you breathe. It doesn't make any sense. Anyway, I know what they're trying to do, but in fact, when we've looked at the people, the top 10% of people that have died, and most of the people that died, somewhere between 90 and 99% that recover, okay? So most of the people have died have had previous existing comorbidities. In other words, they've had diabetes, high blood pressure, and they're on medication, or obesity, several other different things. So you're already in a weakened state, okay? So how do you get yourself out of the weakened state? The issue is that if your immune system is functioning fully, you, as I said, can protect yourself from anything. Even if you get the COVID virus, COVID-19, you can still recover. Some people don't even get any symptoms. They just recover. So it's been interesting to see many people doing the programs who've read my books or done any of the programs that we've on offer, and how people have said they don't get flu anymore. And Mark and I haven't had a doctor's bill due to ill health for over 30 years. We don't get flu. If you feel yourself getting slightly mucusy or a little bit run down, Mark and I straight away go on raw food, we juice, and we go to bed early, and the immune system recovers. It's the most powerful tool you have to keep you well. And we've got to stop looking for cures, because the cures are what's causing the side effects. You've got to read those inserts, okay? There's no cures. They are not cures. They just treat the symptoms. You've got to get this into your head. This is not some conspiracy theory. This is a fact. Any doctor will tell you. I have several doctor friends. Yesterday I met another one that I know I'm going to be good friends with. He's a medical doctor who went and studied Chinese medicine, went all the way to China to study Chinese medicine, because he found that the westernized Chinese medicine wasn't actually the way it should be. But he is totally against what they're doing with COVID-19. The masks don't help. He says, if you look at the science, wearing a mask actually makes you sicker. Oh, it's the blind just decided to curl itself up and open itself. So there's a bit of evening light coming in there. Okay, so let's take a look at this. One of the best ways to build your immune system is through a natural diet. Now, here's the interesting thing. Most people who've worked in the garden know that if your soil is healthy, your plants will be healthy. And what amazes me is that there are thousands, probably millions of people around the world who grow roses or flowers, but a lot of rose growers are all over the world. And they feed the soil, and they put bone meal into it, and they put compost, and they put fertilizers, and they put all kinds of things into their soil to make their roses healthy, because they know that if they feed the soil all the nutrients that the roses need, that the roses are not going to get eaten by aphids, and then they can enter them into competitions and win all kinds of prizes. It astounds me that people will do that. We know, even if you don't grow roses, if you just grow a lawn, you know that your lawn needs to be healthy. Your lawn needs to be fed, and it needs to be fed healthy things. Otherwise, you end up with these dry, dark patches all over the place. And anybody who grows vegetables knows that if the soil is healthy and there's lots of compost and manure and nutrients in the soil, and you're watering the soil, then you get very healthy, delicious, sweet vegetables. If you don't feed your soil and you grow carrots, you're going to get gnarly, twisted, bitter carrots, and they're going to be pale in color. You feed your soil, you get delicious, juicy carrots. They're sweet, and they're nutritious. They just feel good going into your body. And I know this for a fact, because I've spent many years just trying to rehabilitate the soils on our property, which are clay. And we were told you can't grow any vegetables or fruit in clay soils, but you can't. You have to blend them with things. So I've got it. We've been on the property for 15, going into for 16 years now. And so I know that when I feed the soil, I get the most beautiful. We've got the most beautiful almond trees on our property. We've got olive trees. We've got, it's not by any means a farm. It's about 2.5 acres of land, and we got delicious vegetables, but it's taken a long time to get them there. And I sometimes have a really good crop of avocados on the avocado tree, and then the next year nothing. And I've realized you've got to water, but not too much. But avocado trees need lots. So you learn all these things about each plant, and how much water they need, and what kind of soil they need, and what position they must be in. The avocados don't like wind, and the grandillas don't mind, or the passion fruit don't mind the wind. The almonds don't like wind. It knocks all the buds off, and then you don't get any fruit. So you learn all this amazing stuff. Farmers know this, gardeners know it. But when it comes to our bodies, we just don't think about the soil we're growing in. If we feed our bodies properly, we don't get diseases. It's that simple. And I've proven it. Thousands of people have proven it. When you eat properly, you don't get sick at all. Not at all. No diseases. You don't get colds. You don't get coughs. You might get a strange sick. I had to spend some time with somebody who was smoking a couple of weeks ago. And it wasn't a lot of time. It was a half an hour that I was in this person's space, and they were smoking. And I couldn't get out of the space, and there was just, it's a complicated story. It's not that complicated. It's very simple, but I just couldn't get out of the space for that time being. And we just couldn't go outside. It was raining, and I couldn't get anywhere else. So I was stuck, and the person was in a very agitated state. They were possibly needing psychiatric treatment. So it wasn't like I could just say, stop smoking. I understood that this person needed to smoke to calm down because there was no way of communicating with them. So it was an interesting situation to be in. I've never liked cigarette smokes. Both my parents smoked, and I would find that as I got older as well, and the healthier I got, the more I would sneeze around cigarette smoke. So for about a week after that, I sneezed a lot, which also happens to be spring here in the Southern Hemisphere. So there's a lot of pollen. So I knew what I needed to do to help my body deal with the fact that I was sneezing so much. But it was interesting because my immune system was responding. That's an immune response when you sneeze, when something is not right in the area, in the air that you're breathing in. So I knew I had to increase the amount of omegas, my essential fatty acids, omega-3s in my diet. So I took, and normally my maintenance quantity is 3, and I started taking 6. And I also took some bee pollen, bee propolis, and royal jelly, which actually helps with that as well. And literally within a week, it was all calmed down and I was fine. But it was still a much milder reaction from what I used to have before, when I used to have terrible hay fever and I could sneeze all for 3 months and scratch my eyes out. So I didn't have the itchy eyes. So my body was still working really well, and it needed some help, and which is fine. Sometimes your body needs help. So we've got to think of our bodies as a garden, and we've got to feed our garden properly, and we've got to create it in the right environment as well. Because if you put your garden in the wrong place, where there's a lot of wind and there's a lot of sun and there's no shade, then all your vegetables or all your flowers are just going to get burnt, and you've got to protect them. Same way we've got to protect our body. We've got to live in the right environment. If you're living in a very toxic environment, say you're in a really toxic, abusive relationship, and you're doing a job that you absolutely hate, maybe your boss is abusive, you're probably going to get really, really sick. Our emotional state affects our immune system. Our emotional state, your stress and worry can actually shrink your thymus gland, and your thymus gland is behind your breastbone over here. And that gland produces your T4 killer cells, the white blood cells that really nail bacteria and viruses. They're like the most powerful white blood cells. And when those are very low, below a certain level, you're told that you are HIV positive. And when that happens, you've got acquired immune deficiency syndrome. So you've acquired a deficient immune system. The interesting thing, it's the very same condition when somebody suffers from malnutrition. We're going to take a look at this. Malnutrition, the studies have show the same results as if you're HIV positive. Let's take a look at this. But before I get there, I just want you to remember, and some of you remember this, some of you are new to this, is that the healthy immune system depends on a healthy endocrine system. And your endocrine system is also known as your hormonal system. So your hormonal system is a series of hormones. You've got your pituitary gland in the brain, the thyroid gland situated around your larynx. You've got your parietal cells in the stomach. You've got the ovaries, the testes. You've got your adrenal glands. You got your pancreas. All of that's part of the endocrine system. But the endocrine system controls everything: your brain, your central nervous system, your immune system, your hormones. Everything's controlled by it. And a healthy endocrine system needs a lot of things. All the things we're going to talk about tonight help your endocrine system to be healthy. When your endocrine system is healthy, your immune system works well, okay? So it's important. No part of our body is separate. It's all interlinked. Central nervous system, the brain's connected to the endocrine system in the brain. And then that endocrine system is involved in maintaining the immune system and the musculoskeletal system and the way your blood works and your lungs and your liver and your heart. Everything works together. It's like this huge orchestra. And if you take out the wind instrument, it's not going to sound right. It's not going to work properly. So you've got to get this whole body in balance. Your body always sends you signals. Body will always send you signals. You'll feel tired all the time and you don't know what's wrong with you. Why am I tired all the time? You'll feel irritable. You'll find you're not sleeping properly at night. You'll just find your body feels restless. You may have restless legs or twitching arms or legs. Just something's out of balance. You can feel it's not right, but you don't know what's wrong. I remember when I met Mark, he had very high blood pressure. It was 160 over 110 when he was like 19 and 20 years old. And he used to say to me once, we got married when he was 22 and I was nearly 19. We were young. We've been married a long time. It's going on for 44 years, I think. Yeah. And in a couple of months, it'll be 44 years. And one of the things he used to say to me is, my body's feeling weird. And I'd say, what do you mean it's weird? And he'd say, I feel like I'm getting cancer. I'd say, don't be silly, Ma. And he still says today that his body used to feel like it was actually diseased inside and that he was getting cancer, because he says it doesn't feel like that at all. I mean, that feeling's gone. When we changed our diet, that feeling completely went. So some people have a feeling, some people are sick, they've got allergies or hay fever or high blood pressure or menstrual problems or polycystic ovarian syndrome or diabetes or any kind of thing. It's just an indication that your body's out of balance, which means your immune system's out of balance. Remember, it's the people with previously existing comorbidities, serious degenerative diseases, that really get sick and possibly die from something like corona. It's not the healthy people and the children. The children aren't on blood pressure medication. They're not on heart medicine, and they're very seldom likely to be obese, although that's increasing, unfortunately. Okay. So let's take a look at what some researchers say about this. There's Doctors Chandra and Chowdhury, who published research in medical journals, and I've got the quotes, but we won't go into all that detail. It says the same symptoms that are evident in malnourished people closely resemble the symptoms of immunodeficiency. This means that malnourished people and those with immunodeficiency should be approached in the same way. How do you approach a person who's malnourished? You feed them properly. How do you approach somebody whose immune system's not working properly? It's the same symptoms. When you look at the blood and you look at the body and you look at the white blood cell count, malnutrition and a faulty immune system look the same. So how would you treat a malnourished person? Feed them healthy food. So on a global scale, malnutrition is the most frequent cause of immunodeficiency. Malnutrition results in an abnormally small thymus, the gland behind your breastbone, and autopsies on AIDS patients show the same results, a small thymus, indicating that AIDS clearly occurs in people whose immune system is run down. This could be from their diet or their lifestyle, including medication can suppress immune function, as can recreational drugs, alcohol, cigarettes, stuff like that, okay? Malnutrition results in lowered T cell count and poor allergy response, just as it would be for somebody who's HIV positive. This is still from their research. Immune system dysfunction can occur as a result of a deficiency or an excess of one single nutrient. And that is the reason they say that you should avoid taking nutrients in supplements, in pills. You're not going to cure yourself with pills that have got vitamin C and vitamin A and vitamin D and vitamin E and calcium and magnesium. If that was the case, the countries that use the most supplements would be the healthiest in the world. So guess which country consumes the most supplements? And if you've guessed it, it's the United States of America, because there is more money and more people with more money than anywhere else in the world. So just got something in my eye here and I'm blinking a bit much. So it's important to remember that the people that take the most supplements are not likely to be the most in the best condition. Very often people that take supplements also eat better and they exercise more, so they might be marginally healthier than the people around them. But if supplementation worked, the countries that consumed and used the most supplements would actually be the healthiest, okay? So we know that you can't use a nutrient on its own. Vitamin C works with vitamin E. Vitamin E works with iron. Iron works with calcium. Calcium works with magnesium. Magnesium works with potassium. Potassium with phosphorus. Phosphorus with sulfur. You've got to get it all together. And when you eat that apple, it's got all those nutrients in there in varying degrees. It might have very little vitamin E. In fact, you might have to eat the seeds in the apple, which taste like almonds, incidentally. I've always eaten my apple seeds if the core is healthy. If it's all brown, I don't. So those seeds in the middle are very high in vitamin E and in protein, for example, and calcium. And yet there is still calcium and those nutrients in apples, just in smaller quantities. So when they're all together like that, you can use them properly. And that's why when people go onto the basic steps of the programs that I put them onto, like in the 100 days in week 1, you start with raw food before cooked food. And some people see an astounding, an amazing result in that first week. And that would be because they weren't eating any fruit and vegetables. Now they're eating it before every single meal. So the stomach starts to work better. They're feeling better. They feel more alive. That's the thing they write to me when they say, I feel more alive. And that's that feeling like your body's starting to work properly. You don't realize you're walking around feeling half dead until you actually feel what it's like to be alive. It's an amazing feeling. And as my daughter said, she said one year she was about 17 years old. There was a big beach party and she went down there and people were passing around marijuana and cigarettes and alcohol and some other recreational drugs. And they kept offering her, they kept coming to her and saying, "What are you on? We want it." And she said, "I'm not on anything. I'm high on life." And we were talking about it the other day, and it's an interesting thing because you do feel high in life. Everything's heightened, everything's calmer but heightened. Colors are nicer. You're a calmer person. You sleep better. Everything's just working so much better. Okay. So what does Dr. Chandra and Troudy say? We've got to carry on with what they're saying. Immunology effects are seen when the antioxidants are deficient. Those antioxidants are namely vitamins A, vitamin C, or beta carotene in place of vitamin A, vitamins E and selenium, all found freely in fruit and vegetables, nuts and seeds, and very high in dark green leafy vegetables, especially those sprouted from grains like sprouted barley grass grains, and sprouted barley grass from the grain, and sprouted wheatgrass. So when people drink their green juices and they have a shot of barley grass juice or wheatgrass juice, that's got very intense antioxidants in them. One of them is called superoxide dismutase, or SOD. And that has the most powerful effect on the skin and the hair and the nails, and it really boosts your immune system. So if somebody gets sick, the first thing we do is we give them barley grass. Now, I don't have the inclination or the time to grow my own barley grass juice. So I buy the dried version, and I buy the best one with the highest nutritional level, which is Barley Life. Most of you will know that that's what I use because I've mentioned it somewhere along the line. So cholesterol in the diet. Let me just correct this. Cholesterol is made by your body to make hormones in your body, okay? We need cholesterol. Your liver makes the cholesterol, dumps it in the bloodstream, and we need omega-3s to pick it up and move it around to the cells where it's needed to make hormones, where it's needed to make healthy bones, where it's needed to make the myelin sheath around your nerves so they don't short out and you get multiple sclerosis. So you just find that everything, a whole lot of the conditions and diseases get better when you start taking omega-3s in your diet. And we just don't get enough. That's why I advocate taking flax oil on a regular basis. And I'll always tell people to take it. And for example, when I had the allergies, I took a lot more of the omega capsules because they're very high in omega-3s and they're perfectly balanced. Why? Because omega-3s are needed to make prostaglandins, which are precursors to, these are big words, but what it leads to is it makes natural antihistamines in your adrenal glands. When you make natural antihistamines, your body just calms down and no more allergies. That's just how it works. That's how your body works. It will fix itself if you let it. Okay, we're talking about cholesterol found in animal products, okay? So if you're eating cholesterol in an animal product, it's in eggs, it's in cheese, it's in yogurt, it's in meat, it's in fish, because all animals make cholesterol for similar reasons. Their endocrine system in the animal needs the cholesterol to make the hormones and make the brain work properly. And so when we're eating external cholesterol and taking it in and not using the one that's in our body, we know that what it does is, it's also in a lot of baked goods, it's in chocolate where they use marine shortening. Don't think a lot of chocolates contain marine shortening. That is fat from whales and fish sources, okay? So we know that cholesterol in the diet, including those in marine shortening in chocolates and baked goods, lowers the immune response. And that's one of the reasons why your immune system is beautifully boosted when you go onto a raw food diet, because you've cut out all the animal products. People feel terrible going on the 30-day detox where it's just plant-based foods. And then they feel amazing within 2 to 3 weeks maximum. They start feeling incredible and everything starts working. And once you've done that 30-day detox, you've got a program to go on to when you start feeling flu-y or you start feeling a bit run down. You know, you just go onto that 30-day detox and sort your body out, okay? Malnutrition in pregnancy results in an immunosuppression for a prolonged period from a couple of months from birth to beyond the baby's offspring. So if a child is malnourished, it could affect their offspring. So it's very important for us to understand that if we don't eat properly, we could affect our children and their children, our children's children, our grandchildren could be affected. And that's why in all the studies that I did in natural health, they used to say it takes about 3 generations to get a perfectly healthy child, one with no moles on the body, no birthmarks, and a really in tune immune system that is super healthy. But I've seen in myself, my mom was very health conscious with us growing up. She gave us as much fruit and vegetables as she could on a limited budget with a single mom with 4 children. And those were the days when people weren't single. So everybody would ostracize her and have nothing to do with her because she was divorced. And that was because my dad was an alcoholic. there's all our dirty laundry out there, okay? So she was health conscious in that we weren't allowed tea and coffee, we weren't allowed gum, we weren't allowed soft drinks. She gave us brown sugar. We thought that was healthier. But we had, there was just, my mother wasn't a believer in using medicine. She would, if you had a sore stomach or a headache or anything was wrong with you, first thing was drink a glass of water. Second thing was take milk with magnesia. And the third thing was go and sit in the bathroom and have a bowel movement. My mother believed, and then the fourth thing was go and sleep. My mother believed that if you drank water, had a good bowel movement and slept, it would cure any disease. And really, we did pretty well. My allergies and my health issues really only developed when I was in my late teens, early 20s. Okay, let's talk of allergies. I'm feeling like I want to sneeze. How weird is that? It's like talking of water. I want to drink water. And I forgot to bring my water to the computer. Right, so what do we know? T cells, those are the fighter cells which form part of the immune system, which destroy viruses and bacteria, can increase within 5 to 15 days of changing your diet. 5 to 15 days. If you change your diet, your immune system can respond within 5 to 15 days. And that's why we see such very predominant, like really dramatic results on the detox program. The 100 days to health, it's the results are there, but they're slower. Although some people within the first week see results because they're eating more raw food, for example. But it's a more permanent program. Most people don't want to live on the detox because it's just plant-based food, although Mark and I live like that. We fluctuate between 100% raw or 25% cooked, which is basically what that program is. So, where was I? T cells, fighter cells. Those are the cells that destroy viruses and bacteria, okay? So you want those things to work really well. So even if you got corona or flu or Hong Kong flu or corona 25 or 105, whichever next disease came out, that's why I tell people go straight onto raw food. And within 5 to 15 days, 5 to 15 days on a whole food plant-based diet, you're going to see results. If you do 100% raw food, you're going to see results within, sometimes 12 to 24 hours. It's that quick. Raw food's a much quicker result. Here they were talking about just changing to a whole food plant-based diet, a whole food, no processed foods, okay? So that's great news for you, is when you change your diet, you are putting the right nutrients into your soil, into your body, and your immune system starts responding. So we know that it's a very quick response that we can get, and it's not a frustrating thing, okay? Now, one of Drs. Chandler and Chartley also said is that malnutrition is usually taken to mean not eating enough foods. My husband heard my plea for something to drink, and he's bringing me, thank you, some peak endurance and ice. Cheers. Okay. Malnutrition is usually taken to mean eating not enough food. But malnutrition, however, is the result of not eating the foods and the nutrients adequate and necessary for healthy cell and tissue development, and of loading the body's metabolism with items it's not equipped to process. We can be feasting on an abundance of food and yet suffer from malnutrition if our diet lacks the nutrients required for healthy cell development or contains artificial ingredients which cannot be processed by ourselves. That's a quote from a book called Nutrition and Beginner's Introduction to Nutrition by Dr. Albert Heyer. The interesting thing is, that's actually the truth. You can be eating an enormous amount of food. You can be obese, but you're not getting enough nutrition. You're getting a lot of calories, but not enough nutrients. If you were getting enough nutrients, you wouldn't be overweight, and your hunger would go away. That's one of the results we see when people go on the 30 days, the 100 days, and any of the programs that we work with. They find that in the beginning, when they're eating mainly plant food, they don't have this heavy feeling in the stomach, and they say, I'm hungry, I'm hungry, I'm hungry. And that may last a week or two at most. And then suddenly, Laura was telling me today that her husband was terribly hungry in the beginning. I remember saying, I'm starving, I'm really hungry. And she said, it's like, I'm not hungry anymore. And that's what happens to so many people. It's like, I'm not hungry. That's a weird feeling if you've been hungry your whole life, like I was, a compulsive overeater. Suddenly I'd wake up in the morning and I wouldn't be hungry. I'm like, I'm not hungry. I don't feel like eating. And that happens even now. If I'm not hungry in the morning, I won't eat until hunger kicks in. And sometimes it's not at all. I'll just go into a fast for a day. because my body is in a healthy condition, my immune system works properly. I don't get detox symptoms. There's nothing to detoxify from. So the worst thing that happens to me is my blood sugar will fall and I'll feel like I need to just move slowly. But the more better I've eaten and the more regularly I fast, the less likely it is my blood sugar actually falls, or that I respond to low blood sugar. I remember being at the health hydro in February with a client that I took there to fast with his diabetes, morbidly obese person, and he did incredibly well. Unfortunately, he's not stuck to the program as well as he should since he got back home, but we're still working on him. But it was great fasting with him, because the interesting thing is my blood sugar went so low that the doctor, who works with fasting people all the time, said, no, they're starting to panic. They want me to eat because my blood sugar is too low. It was down to like 3.2, and they were like, this is not normal. This is too low. How are you feeling? You should be lying flat on the ground. I said, I'm feeling fine. I'm fine. My brain's working. I'm just fine. And it was an interesting thing, because my blood sugar has always been on the low end of the scale, the same with my blood pressure. And so depending on your genetic makeup, you might find that you have low blood sugar and low blood pressure, but when you're healthy, you don't feel ill. Whereas if your blood pressure and blood sugar is low and you're not eating well, then you can feel pretty bad, okay? All right, so most nutritional research indicates that the following foods and beverages are harmful to a healthy immune system. Foods that are high in processed and heated fats, such as fast foods. You want to get sick in a hurry? Did any of you ever see that movie? What was it called? Where that guy ate hamburgers from he just ate at McDonald's for 30 days. And he just lived on processed foods and heated fats, and his liver was enlarged. He only ate at McDonald's for 30 days. What was it called? Somebody remembers it, put it into the chat. And his immune system was in a mess at the end of this. He was not well at all. And his liver was enlarged, his triglyceride levels were hugely increased, but his immune system was in a mess, okay? So foods high in processed and heated fats. So if you're going to eat junk food every now and again, know that you could come up with like mild symptoms of feeling like you're getting flu, and just straight away go on to juicing and go on to a raw food. That's the quickest way to get your immune system back on track when you're sick, okay? Sources are found in, we do need good fats, okay? But the foods that are not good is people forget things like margarine or traditional vegan fats that people use. Margarine is vegan for most people, but it's highly processed and heated. So if you're going to use a vegan butter, for example, it's got to go through a process where it hasn't been heated. We make a vegan butter that doesn't get heated. So it is possible. It's not an impossible thing to do. You need essential fatty acids. We know that we need essential fats to make the immune system work properly. And those essential fatty acids come from avocados, raw nuts and seeds, olives, sweet corn on the cob, dark green leafy vegetables also contain them, as do cold pressed vegetable oils. Your flax oil contains the most omega-3s, which is the one that we tend to lack the most. But it's quite nice to have a balance. It's why I take the omega, because it's flax, sesame, sunflower, and olive oil, all organic and cold pressed. And it's perfectly balanced, so you can absorb it and use it fully. If you just take neat flax oil, unless you've got a real deficiency, if you've got a deficiency of omega-3s, you'll find your conditions will be things like eczema, allergies, hay fever, inflammatory diseases. Then you can take flax seeds for 3 to 6 months, and then you need to go over to a blend. Make sure the blend has been nitrogen flushed, otherwise the oils are rancid. Refined sugar and carbohydrates, things like white flour, white bread, white rice, we'll call them white man's poison. You know, the missionaries used to travel around in their ships and land in foreign places and bring in all the white man's poison, the white bread, the white sugar, and they drink tobacco and coffee to come and preach the gospel. It doesn't make any sense. So I know when we're speaking to people in the rural communities, I always say to them, you mustn't eat the white bread and the white sugar. That's white man's poison. And they look at it very differently after that. But it's white man's poison. It was white people that invented this stuff. So what happens is refined sugar upsets your blood sugar, and so do white and refined carbohydrates. And when your blood sugar is not stable, your immune system cannot defend itself, okay? The white blood cells just cannot destroy viruses and bacteria. It's like the body goes into a state of panic. And it's the immune system's trying to deal with this low blood sugar and everything else that's going out. It's going like crazy. And then in comes some virus or bacteria and your body can't defend itself. And the next thing you're down with really bad flu or the coronavirus or anything else. So you want to get sick in a hurry, just eat lots of refined sugar and processed foods and your blood sugar will be all over the place. Unfortunately, you can get to a place where your body stops getting sick altogether because it simply doesn't have the vital nerve energy to react to what you're doing to it. So it just stops getting sick. If you've not been sick for years and you don't eat well, I can tell you now, you're probably very close to cancer if you don't have it already. My father and my father-in-law and all people that have dealt with cancer, I've asked them every single time I filled that health assessment form when I was consulting privately, which I don't do anymore. I do personally coach groups, small groups where I consult with those people over a period of time. And I've got a new course that I'm releasing in an 8-week course that I'm releasing in a couple of weeks. Actually going to release it in about a week or two, and then we're going to start in about 3 to 4 weeks. That's the closest I get to personal consultants. But in that, we also fill in the health assessment forms and we do a personal health assessment at the end. But when I was in private practice consulting with people, I would fill in the forms, and every single time I dealt with somebody with cancer, I'd always say to them, when were you last sick? And they sit and go, gosh, I can't remember. I said, did you have flu last year? No, I never get flu. I haven't had flu or colds for years. Anything, nothing. No, I haven't. I think I was last sick when I was a teenager and I had my tonsils out, or I was something or other. It'll be like 10, 15, 20 years ago is the last time they got sick. And they're quite proud of the fact that they've never got sick, but now they've got cancer. I never got sick and then I got cancer. And cancer is seen as the last stage of disease when you've gone through all the others. You've ignored the inflammation, the tiredness, the innervation, the inflammation, the induration, all these things that go on in the body that lead up to cancer. And what happens is eventually, as I say, the body is unable to react to what you're doing to it, and it just stores everything, and those stored toxins and waste products and preservatives and additives and heated and processed fats start to damage cells, and that's all cancer is. It's damaged cells multiplying into more damaged cells. And the cells will multiply into damaged cells because there's not enough oxygen. There's no energy in the cells. The little mitochondria, the little organelles in your cells, you can't see them unless you're looking through a microscope. So you see them in an electron microscope, actually. You see the little mitochondria, they actually produce the energy in the cells. And what helps to produce energy in the cells is lots of natural nitrates. And nitrates are found in all your fruit and vegetables, particularly very high in dark green leafy vegetables and extremely high in beetroot. So it's one of the reasons I encourage people to drink beetroot juice. Now, I drink my beetroot juice, it's dried beetroot juice called ready beets. It's just beet juice that's dried, because juicing and extracting beets is such a mess. Everything gets covered in red stuff and it's such an awful mess, okay? And I sometimes do it. And I know in our restaurant we serve beet juice and I'll have one there, but at home it's like everything, the sink, like anything I touch, it gets onto my clothes. So I just take the dried one, and that way it doesn't end up staining everything and getting on everything. But beet juice really increases the nitric oxide levels in your body, which boosts your ability to use oxygen more efficiently at cellular level. And when you start producing enough energy at cellular level, you just have energy all the time, but it's not crazy energy. So you know your immune system's intact when you've got energy for anything. Somebody says, go for a walk. Yeah, sure, I'm going for a walk. Let's go for a walk up the mountain. Yeah, sure. Let's go for a bicycle ride. Yeah, sure. You're not going to be saying, I'm tired. I don't feel like it. You're going to be energetic. I've got to go and hammer the fence up. Yeah, sure, let's get some hammers and go and hammer them up. The wind's blown over some trees. Let's get the chainsaws and go and that's, I mean, we live in a small holding, and Mark and I do most of that kind of work ourselves. And we have a couple of handymen and gardeners that help us when we, because it's just a big property, and we've got a big vegetable garden, and we've got a lot of stuff to do. And of course, we're not working on our land full time. If we were here full time cleaning up everything and chopping down trees, we could do it. But Mark's the only one that uses the chainsaw unless he's with somebody. Like, he'll let me use it. I can use that chainsaw. We're both in our 60s. We don't have any issues with it. I don't end up with sore muscles because, and it's not a boastful thing, it's your immune system's working properly. You've got enough energy in your cells. You can always rise to the occasion when you need to put in some extra work. I can run. I don't do running. It's not my favorite thing to do, but I walk all the time. But your level of fitness is way higher than it would be if you were just eating normally, the traditional Western way. So I could go and run 5 kilometers and wouldn't think anything about it, but I was never like that before. I could barely run 50 meters without like so if your cells are getting more oxygen in them, your lungs are actually coping better. Everything starts to work more efficiently. And you have this incredible amount of energy. You will know that your immune system's run down when you're tired all the time. And most people, just before they get flu, they're tired and they think, oh, I better drink some more coffee. Or I better eat some chocolates to keep me going. And suddenly they come down with flu and they're like, you will notice that cycle that happens, the tiredness, and then you're looking for stimulatory foods. That's when you go on to raw food, okay? Or you fast. You just give your body a break, get into bed and rest. 12 to 24 hours, you're over it. It's gone. Okay. So refined sugar and carbohydrates, too much table salt in food. So if you're consuming too much salt in your food, that can suppress immune function. It doesn't mean you must never have salt, but over-salting your food can affect it. Processed foods, as I said, when you process foods and refine them and you put them in a packet with a label on it and you call them cheese whirls or cheese chips or these funny little gnarly bright orange things, they're called all kinds of different names in different countries. They're in a packet and people take them and eat them. And I say to them, what are you eating? And they say, oh, knickknacks. I'll say, what is it made from? And they look at the packet and they look at the thing and they say, I don't know, cheese. I said, don't you know what you're actually eating? Do you think cheese goes like that? That's just flavoring. What is it made from? No, I don't know. How could you put something into your body if you don't know what it is? You don't know how it was made, where it came from. No wonder you've got tonsillitis, ear infections, whatever's going on, okay? So 80% of the food most people eat today are processed, and some people only eat processed foods. 60 to 70 years ago, 10% of our food was processed. 10%. I feel like Donald Trump when I do that, 10%. 10% of our food was processed, and cancer rates were on the floor. It was 1 out of every 15 to 20 people would get cancer. Today, it's 1 out of every 1 to 2 people will get cancer. 1 out of every 2 men, so it's 1 out of every 2 to 3. 1 out of every 2 men, 1 out of every 3 women. And unfortunately, it's known that men don't look after their diets as well as women do. And the reason we're most likely to look after our diets is because women want to look pretty. We want our skin to look nice and we don't want to be overweight. So we're more likely to pay attention to our diet. Whereas to men, it's like a little thing. Somebody else, my mother or my wife must look after. I don't want to think about this stuff. I remember when he changed our diet, Mark said, don't ask me what I want to eat. As long as it looks good, tastes good, smells good, I'll eat it. But don't ask me because I'll say no. I'd like a hamburger. But if so I started making him burgers with giant mushrooms on it instead of the patty. And he loves those. He still maintains they're the best burgers he's ever eaten. Except now we've come up with amazing patties, hamburger patties. Okay, so, right, caffeine. Caffeine is containing foods such as colas, green tea, normal tea, chocolates, cacao, organic cocoa beans, anything like that. Caffeine was used initially by the Incas and the Aztecs to take before they were going to war. It would make them aggressive. But what it does is it causes a loss of water-soluble vitamins. Those are your vitamins C and B, which are very important to the function of the immune system and the endocrine system. And caffeine stresses the brain and central nervous system, causing nerve cells to fire too rapidly, and they start using up your energy. So your nerve cells, instead of firing very nicely are going tick, 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 tick. It's using up all the energy, and then you suffer from adrenal exhaustion. And when your adrenal glands are exhausted, the immune system's just not going to work as well as it should. So if you want something to drink malted carob drink herbal tea. Aloe blossom tea is probably in most countries around the world. It tastes like Christmas cake in a cup. It's too delicious. You can even take 100% pure fruit juice, like a concentrate. And fresh juice is always better, but in this instance, like mango juice, pure mango juice with no preservatives or sugar, that much in the cup, fill it up, makes it very delicious. You can use grape juice and put cinnamon and a bit of ginger in it, and grape juice with boiling water, very delicious. It's like mulled wine, it almost tastes like. In fact, I love making my own sangria. It makes a cold sangria with sparkling water, or it makes the recipe's in the 100 Days to Health. I know that much, okay? So, right, it's acid forming. Caffeine is also acid forming in the body, and anything that's acid forming doesn't help the immune system. Your diet needs to be at least 85%, 75 to 80% alkaline forming. That means 75 to 85% of your diet should be fresh fruits and vegetables. Those are your alkaline forming foods, or the main ones at least. Alcohol destroys B vitamins and minerals and upsets the endocrine system, and this in turn upsets the immune system. It'd be better for you to drink non-alcoholic beverages. These smart drinks today are an alternative, but they're very processed and they usually have a lot of sugar in them. So I'd rather go and drink a sparkling apple tizer or grape tizer, or grape or apple juice with sparkling water in it. Find alternatives. Make your own juices. Drink water with mint and lemon and orange peel in it. There are lots of different things that you could do. Just drink sparkling water with lemon juice in. That's also great. And if you want to sweeten it, put a bit of honey or fructose in it. So gluten is a protein that's found in the grains of wheat, oats, rye, and barley, the grains, not in the leaves, okay? And new research, well, newish research, which means it was done in the last 20 odd years, which was published in the Lancet Journal and many others like the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition, the New England Journal of Nutrition, medical journals indicate that gluten interferes with the function of the endocrine and the immune systems, contributing to any flu and autoimmune diseases such as multiple sclerosis, lupus, arthritis, gout, fibromyalgia. So you would replace gluten with gluten-free breads, gluten-free bread rolls. I know it's taken me like 30 years to find a recipe. I finally got a recipe and then tweaked it some more, and now it's like the bread rolls taste like genuine bread, and the bread rolls and the bread tastes like it's bouncy, and it lasts for like 5 days. It doesn't go stale for like 5 days. You can keep it just outside. Don't put it in the fridge. You just keep it outside. You can toast it, and it freezes. And there are very nice gluten-free breads around, but sometimes there's stuff that tastes like cardboard, which is really not very nice. Okay, but you can replace it with the things that are gluten-free: is your brown rice cakes, your corn thins, your brown rice tortillas, your brown rice, actual brown rice, potatoes, sweet potatoes, polenta, corn, millet, quinoa. There are a lot of other grains that are gluten-free. So don't say, oh, what am I going to eat? There's lots of things that are gluten-free. And in fact, very often when people go on to plant-based diets, they just increase the amount of gluten because bread makes you feel full. Bread and pasta makes you feel full. Have rice noodles instead of gluten. Not a difficult thing to do, okay? So we've already spoken about lack of essential fatty acids, but specifically, if you're not getting in enough omega-3s and 6s from natural fats, it results in a breakdown in the immune system, often resulting in asthma, hay fever, sinusitis, candida albicans, that's candida overgrowth, and eczema. Prostaglandins are made from essential fatty acids found in natural plants. It's ideal to include some of these daily. The best are found in raw nuts and seeds, avocados, olives, dark green leafy vegetables, and cold-pressed oils, as I've said. Fluoride from toothpaste. Research from both Britain and America show that fluoride confuses the immune system, causing it to attack the body's own tissues, resulting in one of many symptoms such as skin rashes, gastrointestinal disorders, lupus, and rheumatoid arthritis. So rather use a fluoride-free toothpaste and avoid fluoride. Make sure when you're drinking water, there are very low levels of natural fluoride. Amalgam in our fillings, the International Academy of Oral Medicine and Toxicology, in Canada states that mercury vapor is released into the body from amalgam fillings, resulting in numerous health problems related to the central nervous system, the immune system, and the endocrine system. So one of the best ways, is very difficult to just go and whip out all of your fillings. You got to do it slowly and carefully, okay? But one of the things we do know is that chlorophyll is the most powerful neutralizer of heavy metals. So the best thing you can do is have lots of dark green leafy vegetables in your diet. Eat lots of dark green veggies, broccoli, spinach, or any green stuff. I drink barley grass juice every day, at least once a day, sometimes twice a day. And that has helped me until I got to a point where I was able to remove all the amalgam fillings. And I had a lot because I was a sugar junkie, okay? We know that an alkaline forming diet, as I mentioned earlier on, one of the most powerful things that you can help the immune system functioning more efficiently, okay? We know that the immune system works way better when we on a high alkaline forming diet. So you need to do this by eating at least one entire fruit meal a day. So breakfast, lunch, or supper is a smoothie, maybe with nuts or seeds in it, or a big bowl of fruit, or a big platter of fruit, or just grab a whole bag of apples and munch on it, and a bunch of bananas, or whatever you like, okay? That means that's a third of your day's meals is alkaline, okay? Then snack on raw fruit and vegetables in between the meals. Don't snack on chips and biscuits and pretzels and all kinds of other things. Snack on fresh fruits and vegetables. If you're looking for alkaline nuts, that almonds would be, you could snack on those, okay? Or dried fruit, that's dried tomatoes, as long as they're preservative free. We make a herb dried tomato. It's got our herb salt on it, and we do a chili one as well, spicy one. And they're fantastic. You sit and munch on them. They're actually quite, if you leave them out the packet for a while, they get more chewy. But if they're straight out of the packet, they're still crunchy like a chip. And you can eat it like a chip. And then you start all your meals with a side plate. At least a side plate, can be more, of raw fruit or vegetables. Okay, if you do those three things, you've got an alkaline, a predominantly alkaline forming diet. 100 days and the 30 days educates you on that program, as do my books. A raw food diet, as I said, we know that that helps to boost the immune system. And I've got a quote here from Jennifer Meek, if I'm not mistaken. She says, raw whole foods provide many other factors, some of which are probably unknown, such as natural antibiotics, essential oils, pigments, and enzymes, which often benefit health. Raw whole foods increase the oxygen content of our cells, especially important for the prevention of cancer, where cells have switched to living without oxygen. Fresh fruit and vegetables are high in potassium, which is essential for maintaining a healthy immune system and avoiding cancer. All processed, and this may even include some cooked foods here, require your immune army to defend your gut, and many white blood cells are lost. And that's why we always tell you to eat raw food before cooked food, because a condition called leukocytosis takes place. When you put cooked food straight into the body, the immune system goes on alert and starts attacking whatever the enemy is coming in, because your body sees cooked food as an enemy. So the way to check it and just eat your baked potato is to eat a salad or an avocado or have a glass of carrot juice before you eat your baked potato. You don't want to destroy your white blood cells. I know that if I'm not eating enough raw food before my cooked food, I do start feeling like a bit run down and I feel a little bit twitchy. Start increasing the raw food and I feel energetic and top form again. When you're eating a totally raw food diet, and you don't have to do that, but when you do it, Mark and I are on a raw food program right now, always going into summer, we do it for a month or two. And then in summer, we might go days just eating raw food, and then we'll eat something cooked. It's not a religion, but we feel amazing in the change of season when we stay on raw. We need way less sleep. We can go to bed at 10 o'clock and we wake up at 4 o'clock, which is a bit irritating because it's still dark. But it does mean we can get a whole lot more done. So if you feel there are things that can help you. If you're wanting to take something to help you, I always advocate taking Barley Life. Carrot juice, beet juice, and barley grass juice are the three things I advocate. You can grow your own and juice it and make sure it's organic, or buy organic produce and juice it, or you can get Barley Life, which is organic, and it's the dried barley grass juice. Same with ready beets and just carrots. They're dried carrot juice, dried beet juice. We recommend that you take a flax oil supplement. The best that I've seen the best results with is with Omega. Strict vegans don't like using it because the capsule is made from gelatin from the water buffalo, so it's a free-range organic animal, but it is still made, and that's because encapsulated oil can't go into a veggie capsule. It just dissolves it. So you could use flax oil out of a bottle, you could use a blend, but the Omega blend, we see the best results, and it's one of the reasons I personally take it. My husband chews the capsules and spits them out. He doesn't want to swallow the capsule. I just don't want to taste the oil. So there are certain things. Drinking aloe vera, aloe barbadensis juice, for example, can help people because it contains something in it called galactomannins. And there are companies out there that put these galactomannins into supplements, process them out of the aloe, so it's just a white powder. And then people are taking that. It doesn't make sense to go and take a white powder. Just drink the aloe juice. It has so many benefits. It's not just the galactomannins, but we know that galactomannins are a class of long-chain sugars derived from plants, which are known to stimulate the immune system and the protective effects within the body. So the aloe barbadensis plant contains the greatest concentration of this acetylated mannan, which is also the most active of all the mannans and helps the immune system work. So drinking some aloe juice on a regular basis, which I do drink. I know the Forever Living has now brought out a tiny little bottle. It's like 330 mils. So you can like drink it and screw top it, and it's just so cute. got this tiny little bottle that you can drink and sip it throughout the day if you want to, if you're not feeling well. I'll take aloe if my digestive system is not working, just feeling a little bit tired from what I'm doing, or if I'm feeling like if I'm on raw, I find I really enjoy the aloe, but I'll drink it at any time. It's just, I listen to my body. I have aloe when I feel like it. And then we also know that intestinal vermin, worms and flukes also weaken the immune system. So it's important to at least 1 to 3 times a year, depending on how many animal products you eat, that you get rid of natural intestinal vermin. And so the best product that I know that you can use is Para 90, okay? And then there are nutrients that you find in things like pomegranate and mangosteen. Those are superfoods. They can be expensive, but if you live in a country where pomegranates grow, you can eat the pomegranates or make your own pomegranate juice. But at the end of the day, anything that's bright red, whether it's beet juice, you know, you'll go and make some expensive drink out of pomegranate and mangosteen that's imported from another country. But the reality is that health should be available for everybody, and the poor person can go and grow their own beets and take the beets and either squeeze the juice out of it by grating it and pressing it, or just eating the beets without cooking them, preferably, because you'll benefit from the juice more. They're very high, as I said, in nitrates, which helps to increase the amount of oxygen usage in the cells. Super turbo boosts your cells, okay? I've spoken long enough, long and hard. I think that's given you a good start. If you're looking for any of the products, I recommend that you contact the person that got hold of you and told you about this webinar that we've had. And I recommend, if you're wanting to know more about the 30 days or the 100 days or the new program that I'm running, either to get hold of the facilitator that told you about the program or get hold of Claudia. I'll give you our email address and you can contact her there. If I can get into the chat, otherwise Mark can always put it up as well. But if you've got any desperate, it was called Supersize. Yes, the movie was called Supersize Me, where the guy ate McDonald's only for a month and just nearly killed himself in the process. All right, let's get that up. I'm on full screen now, and there's not much in the way of there's lots of comments here. Thank you, everybody, for your wonderful contact. Ventilator tract pipe for a prolonged life. I was on one when I had my thyroid issue in 2010. Good that I didn't know all the side effects of it. Oh, yeah, that's interesting, hey? All right, so it's not really time for questions. If you're part of the 30 and 100-day programs, then you will get hold of your facilitators. You can ask them a lot of questions. They know a lot of answers to the questions. Mark has put in info@naturalway.co.za. There it is, if you need to speak to somebody who's not a facilitator. Otherwise, as I say, speak to the person that told you about this webinar. We are looking at having a webinar every week, not every week, once a month. So it'll be 12 probably in a year. I'm not sure about December. I'm thinking maybe we'll do it at the beginning of December, like mid-November, the beginning of December. Maybe people need a little bit of a pep talk or a talk on how to stay healthy over the festive season without being the boring person in the room. There's lots of amazing things that you can make and do. And I think maybe we might even do a bit of a cooking demo, like a food demo in front of the camera. That would be quite nice. And now I've got an independent camera, so I don't have to have it attached to my computer. So I think that would be quite a bit of fun. So let me know if that's what you'd like to do in December. We can do it in that sort of before the sort of 12th, I think, 10th or 12th, when a lot of people go on holiday, and just give you some great ideas to cope with kids traveling and stuff to do yourselves, to keep yourselves healthy so you don't get December flu. It's post-holiday flu, and everybody says, oh, I'm getting the flu that's going around. Watch it be a huge corona spike again after the December holidays, because people have eaten so badly over all the Christmas holidays and New Year and the Thanksgivings. It starts now. Halloween, Thanksgiving. Gosh, there's and then there's just the holidays. People just eat badly. They just eat out more. Restaurants know they're going to be busier in December and January because a lot of people in the Southern Hemisphere are on holiday. Northern Hemisphere, of course, you guys have your holidays in the middle of the year. But you want to avoid that flu and you want to make sure you get through it, but without like depriving yourself. I'm going to give you some tips. In November, we're looking at another subject. I've typed it all up and maybe somebody who's on the program can remember which one it is. but we'll be talking on another subject. So I'm going to say good night to all of you, or goodbye. Oh, that's a nice. Amy, so thank you so much. You said this was wonderful. I love how you delve in and yet make it simple to understand. That is my goal. I hate it when people make it so complicated. They seem so clever. I always used to feel stupid because people would make it so complicated. I think, I must be really dumb. I don't know what they're talking about. I remember sitting at school, like, I don't know what the teacher's talking about. And then I had my IQ tested, and the teacher told me privately that I had the highest IQ in the class. And I'm like, well, why am I so dumb in the class? And then I started thinking about it. It's just some people don't explain things really well. And so it's my mission. My mission is to make health simple and easy for everybody. That's my mission. And I hope to do that. And thank you. I'm really pleased that you said that, because it means I got it right. And that's what I want to do. My goal is to help 1 million people get well so we can change the world that we live in. Because if we can be healthy, we'll be in a nicer, friendlier, healthier world where people will be more productive and be more helpful to the people around them. You can't help other people if you're sick all the time. You just don't. You're always needing help from other people. Please, can you babysit my dog, my cat, my children? I'm going to hospital. I'm not feeling well. It's just a terrible place to be. I know, I've been there. Bipolar, allergies, hay fever, all kinds of problems. So I'm going to love you and leave you. And for those of you on the 30 and 100 days, we meet on Monday evenings for 30 days, Q&A. There's lots of Q&As there, and the 100 days. And the other groups also have their Q&As. Their Q&As are longer. I spend more time with the personally coached groups. But you can speak to, as I say, Claudia about that if you need to know more. If you have any topics you'd like us to cover on, please don't hesitate to put them into the chat or to email Claudia and say, can Marianne please talk about this, that, or the next thing? I have got a list, but if you come up with an idea that's way better than I have, I'll talk on that. And if a lot of you are asking the same thing, then I'll cover that. Okay, so God bless you all. Stay well, and I'll see you soon.